What are some things that you have done that have helped you to become successful? And then even on the other side, if there's like something that like maybe wasn't working that you overcame that you put in place because something wasn't working.
If you're building something in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco, San Diego, the planning and permitting process is very, very strict and very constringent.
Bandit signs have always been good. Direct mail has always been good. I'm a huge fan of networking with probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, all those guys that can share leads with you.
And when I was running around with 20 employees, I probably needed it more then, but it was just we never had the time to implement it. It was just too much change and too much going on. And so now it helps us stick to the basics. So yeah, just care about your profitability. I got sucked in that top line revenue, deal count world.
All right. Welcome, guys, to the Real Estate Masters Inner Circle Mastermind session. This is something we do every other Thursday. For those of you guys that are listening in, Grace, Joey, Mo, Noah, Shay, we got some more people jumping on here. Welcome. Appreciate you guys being on here. So we are going to dive into the businesses of 3 experienced real estate investors. So we handpick real estate investors for these calls. We dive deep into their businesses and what is working and maybe even what's not working. So we can kind of talk through that. As you guys know, the name of the game is leads, is systems, and just doing things at a high level so that you can continue to thrive in business. And masterminds are one of the things that have really helped me to scale my business over the years to where about 10 years ago, I was able to step out of my business. And a lot of that had to do with masterminds and calls like this, where I was able to learn from other investors. And we're just glad that we can bring this to mainly clients, but then also we've invited some people outside of 10X TV and the community here to join us as well. So Gonzalo, David, and Jason, you guys ready to get rolling?
Let's do it.
All right. I love these calls. This is fun stuff. So first of all, let's do some quick intros. Just, your name, where you're from, what you do, and if there's some kind of fun fact or anything you want to share about your business, you can share that as well. So let's start with you, David.
Sure. My name is Dave Simmons. I'm the CEO and founder of Strata X Development. We're a development company based out of San Jose in the Silicon Valley. We are spearheading and the only A to Z company that utilizes new legislation from the state of California known as AB 1033. AB 1033 is some new legislation that was passed by Assemblyman Phil Ting to where you can now record a condo map on an ADU and then sell that ADU independently as a condo on the open sales market. So currently ADUs are attached and glued to your main house's square footage. And with this new process, people are now allowed to refinance their ADU and they are allowed to sell the ADU independently as a separate property. So that it, really creates a brand new class for people to buy. And the benefits are just cool, man. There's a lot of more people that we can help with the housing crisis in the state of California.
Cool. Good stuff. I want to dive into that more. Noah, again, tell me a little bit about that. That sounds pretty fascinating and a way to really, really amplify your profits with that strategy. So I look forward to hearing more about that. Jason, how about you, man?
Jason Ricker. Me and my wife, Kelly, we're from Northeast Tennessee. We're small town investors. We're very small business owners, which just me and my wife, and an assistant and a marketing director. So we focus on 100% single family homes. We'll flip. Our big focus is we're big into probate, so we cherry pick our leads. We try to pick up 2 or 3 good rentals a year, and then we usually flip 1 to 2 6-figure flips a year in the single family space. So we always loved that strategy, but recently we've gotten more into buying cheaper stuff and then selling it on terms. That's working real good for us right now. It's really cut back on the amount of renovation and all that stuff you've got to deal with when rehabbing houses. So that's the cool thing we're doing right now.
Cool. Good stuff. Lots of different strategies. I feel like the most successful investors that are in our program and that we help have multiple strategies, whether it's rentals, fix and flip, wholesale, selling on terms. I love those strategies as well. So look forward to hearing about that a little bit further. And then Gonzalo, let's hear a little bit about you.
Yeah. So I'm Gonzalo Corzo. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. Been in the game now. This will be 11 years. I primarily focus on buying houses from other wholesalers. And then if I can't buy it, I JV dispo the property. Fun fact about my company, I just sold a house that I bought from Brad Bone, who is one of your guys' clients, which is pretty awesome. So yeah.
Yep. Brad's an awesome guy. He's been with us for a long time and doing some good stuff out there. So awesome. Good stuff. All right, cool. Well, let's dive into strategy. So I didn't plan on going here, but it seems like we have some good strategies here that you guys are using. So let's start with you, David. This sounds very fascinating. Literally, no one just told me this morning. It sounds like, from what I understand, in California, you are now allowed to buy a house, put an ADU on it, and like you said, rather than the ADU being counted as the square footage in the house, you can actually sell it as kind of a condo or separate property, which in California, land and property values are substantial. So it sounds like you could make multiple 6-figure and even 7-figure profits on deals like that. So dive into that. Tell us about it.
Yeah, sure. So, I was a big ADU builder guy over the last 36 months. We did about 120 ground up construction ADUs. So I was really deep involved in that, and just learning the processes, seeing all the struggles, and learning how much it takes to tolerate 100 ground up construction projects. It's a lot to handle. I wanted to figure out another way, and so this legislation that was getting passed through, I spoke with the assemblyman directly, and he was like, Dave, if this goes through, this is going to be legendary. So it went through. It's a statewide approval. Just each city or county needs to stick their hand up and say that they approve it. But in a nutshell, basically what you said is, as long as the property withholds it, with room on the lot to build another ADU, it can be attached, a garage conversion, or a detached. That city will let you record a condo map and an HOA on that ADU and sell it independently. So the first model of this process was a property in San Jose. There was a 2,600 square foot house built in the front, 2-story. And then there was an 1,150 square foot ADU built in the back. Okay. Small little lot, 8,000 square feet. Two things that I really wanted to make sure this was one of one. So this just got fully approved and recorded, the very first deal in the history of California, about 3 months ago. So this is a brand new thing. So the ADU cost in the Silicon Valley to build that 1,150 square foot ADU is roughly around 450 grand. It's just expensive to build there. So I knew the cost of construction. I watched the city of San Jose go through the process and wanted to see how seamless that would be. What were the hangups? Would they get their APN at the end of the deal? And it went through pretty good. So it took a little longer than anticipated, but they got the APN, they recorded the condo map, and now it went for sale. So I wanted to see, okay, well, how is the consumer going to react to buying a little house in someone's kind of back left corner of their yard? It sold right away, of course. And then more importantly, I was like, okay, who is going to be the lender? Is going to stick their hand up and say, we're going to do this weird thing where we're now converting an ADU to a condo in someone's backyard. How's it going to appraise? And, all that type of stuff. So I'm like, is it going to be the small local community credit union, or is it going to be a state bank? And that was a big deal to me because I wanted to see which bank jumped in and was going to spearhead this movement. So Wells Fargo funded that loan, and it sold for $1.6 million. So when I saw that, I'm like, okay, I know the build cost was $450. They sold it for $1.6 million. This person generated over $1 million gross profit off building an ADU that took 6 months. I'm like, I'm definitely hustling backwards. I'm shifting all my energy to that side. So that's how StratX was developed. And now, we're focused on doing our independent satellite projects, with being the only component company that actually does this process from A to Z in the state of California. Since San Jose, created the movement with the first AB 1033 project, San Diego has now approved, Sacramento, San Francisco, Berkeley, Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles. So it's a massive waterfall of business that people have the opportunity to do this. It's just early in the game. So another thing, if I could tell any people to look at other strategies, since we're sharing that, is you can also do it on rehabs. So if there's if you want to buy a rehab in one of those cities, fix up the rehab, add an ADU, sell them both independently. Or here's another strategy. There was 120,000 ADUs built in the state of California in the last 5 years. If you just focused on doing some marketing and some networking and go on a little buying spree of people that already have an ADU built on their property, and you make them an offer to buy it, all you got to do is record the AB 1033. And that's profit margin that no one sees, just but yourself.
Do you think the traditional homeowner knows that that bill has passed? Probably not, right? Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
Such good opportunity. Now the shiny object person in me is like, man, I need to go check this out. And like, but
Yeah.
do you think the strategy is you're able to do this in other places? Like, California, obviously with land prices and, the
Mhm.
cost between the prices of land and housing probably makes that
Yeah.
spread a lot bigger.
Sure.
But
Oh, no question.
do you feel like this could be done in other places?
Yeah, so it started. It's actually in Seattle now, and it just started in Scottsdale. So it definitely is moving east. So as you know, never before has it been more unaffordable for a person to go buy a house, right? Based on property values where they are today and interest rates where they've been in the last 12 months, it's been pretty tough. This is a crazy fact. The first time buyer average age in the Silicon Valley is 52 years old.
Wow.
That's how our youth are completely pushed out of the market. Like a beater 1,400 square foot house that is rough in a rough neighborhood in San Jose is $1.5 million.
Dang, that's crazy. So if
Yeah.
someone's willing to buy that for 1.5 million because it's brand new, basically, like otherwise they'd have to buy something like it, but not in very good condition.
Yeah, I think that, yeah, just being able to get, I mean, the comparison properties that are 1.5 million in other areas are beat down, need rehab, and probably needs to be gutted, or you can walk into a brand new construction, cool unit, that's modern, techy, has warranty, is a big difference.
Wow, awesome. Well, we should talk offline about this. If you're looking for someone to
Yeah.
come help, fund some deals or whatever,
Yeah, that would be awesome.
I'd love to look at those and see some opportunities like that for sure.
Yeah.
So, all
Yeah.
right, cool, good stuff. All right, Jason, you mentioned a couple strategies. What's working for you right now, strategy wise, and what would you like to share that you think could help people?
Well, for the past 4 or 5 years, we really zeroed in on probate. It become our bread and butter, and we kind of stumbled on it just by buying houses and figuring they were in probate. So then we turned that into our main focus and really zeroed in on trying to pull the data, send out postcards, texts, emails, all that stuff. So what I think what works for us here is in our little area, this stuff is mostly not on public record. So you have to go to the courthouse and pull this data, which a lot of investors won't take the time to do, but we do it. And it's really paid huge dividends for us. We're hitting some really good home runs, picking up some great rentals. Um, we don't find our cheaper stuff in probate, I guess, because the probate process is kind of expensive, but we find cheaper properties through other forms of marketing like bandit signs and just word of mouth, wholesalers, of course. And that's how we're turning those into owner finance deals. We'll buy those with private money, turn around, we'll pick those up $30,000 to $50,000, and then turn around and sell those somewhere between 80 to 100 and never touch them. Don't even clean them out. Just turn right around and sell them on terms.
So tell me more about that. I've heard of people doing that. So I've even thought about doing that myself. My concern with that is just cash flow. So if I did that with all the properties and we didn't sell them, the chunks of cash coming in wouldn't be as significant. And so the advantage of that, from what I understand, is you're not having to rehab the properties. So there's no construction. You might clean it up or might, do some minor stuff, right, to increase the value with maybe a couple $1,000 from what I've heard other people doing. And then you sell it on terms. And at that point, it's not a rental. So you're not dealing with repairs and things of that nature. You're just dealing with cash flow coming in from those properties. So let's say, I think the example you said, buy it for 40 to 60 and then sell it for 90. So you're making, 30 to 50 on the spread. And then you're financing it. So are those people fixing the properties up, or are they already in livable condition? I'm guessing the advantage that they're having is that they're getting a property for 90,000 that if you fixed up would be worth closer to what, 130, 150, 170 or something like that.
Exactly right. Yeah, there's several ways you can go about doing it. Our personal model is we try to find houses that have a functioning kitchen and bath, so they can move in if needed. They can go ahead and get into the property. But as we're screening potential buyers, we're trying to find those guys who, one, have got a good down payment, plus are going to have some extra cash to put back into that property, because the main thing that we look for is we want them to improve the property almost immediately. So we screen all the people that come in, and we're trying to find that special buyer who's got the money and then can come in and do the handyman stuff himself. So it makes our private investors feel much better if they add value to that property.
Want to get motivated sellers that nobody knows about? Introducing 10X TV. If you want to create credibility in your market, find deals that nobody else knows about, and crush your competition, you need to check into TV commercials. It is the new buzz in the real estate investing industry since we introduced it several years ago. I've been using TV commercials myself for the last 12 years and it's absolutely crushed it. So if you want to learn how to get on TV and to do something that little to no people are doing right now, go to claimmymarket.com. Again, that's claimmymarket.com. We usually only work with 2 investors per market, so if you're interested, reach out to us and book a call to see if you can claim your market before anybody else does. Now back to the show. Yeah, I've done that with a handful of deals and they seem to have gone pretty well. I kind of, as you talk about it, I'm like, why haven't I done that more? But I think part of it, again, is cash flow. But I also forgot that some people just have a lot of money to put down. So let's say someone buys it for $90,000. What are they putting down? Is it 10%, 20%?
I try to get 10. It's kind of been the sweet spot for us. I would budge a little bit if I seen that they had more money that they immediately wanted to put back into that property. I might come down a little bit, but I shoot for 10. I was going to say, you're right, that this is more of a long-term play. Like, the cash flow is really good if you use your own money to, let's say if you pick one up for 35 and use your own money, it's usually about a 20+% return. But you look at, once we were financially free and got our rental properties where we wanted them, we just kind of transitioned into this strategy because it was just less hands off and just started stacking them one on top of another.
Yeah, actually, I realized why we stopped doing it that way. I think it's because of the tax advantages. Being able to appreciate the property, and then if we did do the renovations, which is more work, we could, especially now, write off, 100% of a lot of the renovations in the first year, and depreciate them rather in the first year, so that they can be added back in for on our tax or for our banks after our tax returns are done. What else? What is the other advantage of doing that? There's obviously cash flow. There's less project management. What else? Actually, so do you pay cash for most of those, or do you finance some of those as well and do kind of a wraparound?
It's a wrap mortgage sometimes, and then occasionally we will just buy them with our own cash as well. So it's a mixture of both. We do it both ways. I come into this game with no money. Back in 2018, we were corporate people. So I learned very early on how to get out and raise private funding from individuals. So we were doing that with flip houses and rentals, but I've just kind of transitioned that straight into this, and it works very well. And what we do is we give people, right now we're giving people usually a $35,000 loan. We're doing 12% interest amortized over 5 years. So in a 5-year time, that property's free and clear, and then I collect that cash flow. The terms on the selling side are usually 20+ years. So I've got at least 15 years there of cash flow waiting on me after we get that private lender paid off.
Wow, 5-year amortization. And so there's probably not a lot of cash flow, or not as much cash flow in the beginning, right? But then once you get them paid off and you have 10, 20, 30, 40 of these, then the cash flow starts to become significant, right?
It does. Yeah, it's very impressive. It's a little work up front. It would be hard for me to get into that game 100% into that if I was just starting. But now, as we've got other streams of income, adding this on the back end, I'm really enjoying that. Yeah.
Well, one thing I would challenge you, if you don't mind, is going to traditional banks, local banks, and having them fund those deals and getting a 7% interest rate as opposed to a 12% interest rate. I know it's a lot easier. I know.
I did the math on that. We just took out a line of credit on 5 of our rental properties, and I think we ended up getting like $750,000 credit. But I ran the numbers like an interest only payment and that 12% payment, they end up being really close together. If you'll do the math, it was just within $50 a month or something. But yes, that is definitely another route that we're looking more into, is using that line of credit to do that.
Yeah, because I figure if you're paying 12% to your private lender, if you can get that down to 7%, that would increase your cash, or just take that extra money and pay it down quicker, right?
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. There's so many ways to do this. They're like Play-Doh. If you've been in this game, I love structuring deals creatively. And I got into private money because I was able to bring family and friends into real estate without them being so hands-on to it. So that's what worked for us in the beginning, and we still use that strategy today.
Very nice. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that.
No problem.
Gonzalo, by the way, I love your name, Gonzalo.
Appreciate it, man.
Love to hear what's working for you and what you're crushing right now, and any kind of strategy you want to share.
Yeah, so love. I'm the same way, Tony, as far as like my shiny object syndrome. I'm like, dude, I need to hit up who I know in California and see what do I need to do. But I'm more along the lines of what Jason does in a way. I mainly find deals from wholesalers and other realtors. And my strategy is just to close on the asset. So raising private capital to be able to have access to those funds same day is my strategy. So I've kind of built the local brand of being the backup last minute buyer. So I've built the brand of, I'm not going to offer the most, but I'm going to be the most convenient to work with, and I'm going to be the fastest performer. So house that I'm buying today, I got it yesterday, and the only reason I got it from a wholesaler because their buyer fell through, and got a call, hey, we got to close today. Title wasn't able to get everything, for us to close yesterday, but we would have been ready because we have cash available. And so right now, that's been my strategy, has been raising money and branding myself locally as the go-to guy to get just a backup offer. And by doing that, if enough people know about you being the backup offer, then last year we bought 42 houses from wholesalers with this strategy. This year so far, we bought 10. So yeah, and my exit strategy on those is just close on it. I'll either do a wholesale and trash it out and relist it, or do a flip on it, or just dispo it out to my wholesale buyers. But the key in this is controlling the asset. And that's when you can also get a little bit more creative, like what Jason's talking about. I have done a little bit of that, because once you own the house, if it's cheap enough, right, in Jacksonville, there are still some cheap price points where we can owner finance a portion of it, where I'll finance my fee. I'm asking 150, I'll take 100, and then pay me 50K within a year. I'll finance the remaining 50 or something like that. So that's been working for me, man. Yeah.
So raising money, that's from private individuals, I imagine, right?
Yep.
And when you say backup, are you saying after the deal falls through, you come in, or you actually give them backup offers on deals that are already under contract, so that if they do fall through, then you come through with the deal?
Yes, both. So
Both.
yeah, so I'm putting out offers, but then, I'll get the calls that are like, hey, I saw your stuff. I know that you're a backup buyer, right? Or you're a fast buyer. So I kind of like brand myself as like same day closer, right? You need something to close today. Or as we know, sometimes sellers wait till last minute. And this year already, 2 houses that I bought today, I had to go redeem the house for the seller, for the owner at auction. So they lost the house at 11 a.m. By 4 o'clock, I'm the owner. Seller doesn't go to foreclosure. And yeah, so that's how I have found my unique little niche. Yeah.
Cool. So when you say brand yourself, I mean, is the name of your company something like that? Or are you saying when you talk to other real estate investors that are getting you deals, then that's just a conversation you actually have?
Yes, conversation that I have. I do a lot of social media branding. I host a lot of local events, speak at a lot of local events, and then so buy box, right? Everybody now, all the wholesalers are asking people for buy box. What's your buy box? What's your buy box? And so what I highlight more on my buy box is not what the deals I buy, it's the situations that I can buy. And so my buy box, very, at the bottom, it's like, I'll buy, 2 1s, 900 square feet and whatever, 1900 and up, whatever. But what's most highlighted at the top is I can close as fast as I have on there 72 hours. Need to update that. But 72 hours, I'll take on squatters. I will do lock changes for you. I'll take on post occupancies. So my buy box is more of, here are all the headaches that I'll buy from you because I wholesaled for 10 years. So I know the headaches that wholesalers have. And so that's pretty much what my buy box shows. Yeah.
Very nice. The struggle that I've had with wholesalers is they typically lock it up for too much. So then they over promise on the ARV. They, the repairs are typically higher than what they say, right?
Yes.
What has been, obviously markets are different. Maybe there's discounts that they can get there that we can't get in our market. So last year we bought, I think 5 properties or so from wholesalers. And before that, I'd bought one in the 23 or 24 years before I'd been investing. That's how hard it's been to get wholesalers to get you good numbers. Do you feel like it's that way there? Like, how do you feel like you work numbers with wholesalers? Do you feel like they just get deeper discounts? You can get the margins. I'm just kind of curious how you're able to make that work.
No, that's a great question. So I would say that there's 2 types of wholesalers. There's the wholesalers that specialize in dispo, and there's the wholesalers that specialize in acquisitions. And what I like to do is I like to work with the wholesalers that are easy to find, that are calling you for deals. They are the ones that specialize in dispo. And so because of that, it's harder for you to make those numbers work because they're calling you and 1,000 other people. And if you're, running numbers correctly, most wholesalers deals don't work, right? And so what I like to do is I like to find and build relationships with the wholesalers that specialize in acquisitions. And what I mean by that is they're the Jasons going out to get the county data themselves. They're going direct to, they're spending way more time and energy on finding a deal. Typically, they leave a little bit more meat on the deal for a quick dispo. But also volume buying is key. So as soon as you turn down a deal, that's a good deal because you're either, you can't find the funds or you can't close fast enough or whatever, they're calling the next VIP guy. And then that VIP guy is going to get the next call. And so in order for this to work, also, you have to be able to buy volume. And so people just sell me their deals because I'll buy everything if the numbers make sense, right? I bought 10 houses so far this year, and the goal is to just keep them coming, right? If you find a deal, I'll make you an offer. Find a deal, I'll make you an offer, and eventually something will stick. So you do have to weed out through wholesalers, but I will say that my business has completely turned into this. So I'm spending a lot more time trying to track wholesalers. Now my CRM is all about wholesalers. And, did we buy from them or not? I have them labeled into 3 different tiers. And my goal is to, progress them into the tier of I've done business with them. And a lot of that comes from just helping them out. Hey, I'll be your boots on the ground. You need me to go kick out a squatter? I'll go kick out the squatter. We got to post a 3-day notice. We'll do that. They don't know. A lot of times they don't know what the process is. And so I've kind of I let people know what I can help with, and I let them know upfront it's not price. If you're going to sell to me, I'm not going to be the highest price. So if you do have time, if the house is vacant, if it's an easy house to get into, if there's no weird situation, I'll tell them like, dude, go make your money, go sell it, right? Here's my backup offer, go crush it. But then you get the call when it's like, yo, you're the only guy I've shopped this deal out because they need to close tomorrow because another wholesaler backed out on them and they called me. But now they're like, we need to close tomorrow because the auction is Monday. So by giving those offers and building those relationships, just know that that's your marketing. That's your loss leader. That's the 50 offers you put in to get one deal, and then you do that enough. The goal this year is to buy 80 houses, right? And so yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point about just having access to money. You know, if you've got money, you can control the deal, right? Like,
Yes.
there's so many times when people have come to us, and that's actually some of the deals we got last year. I think there's a guy that used to work for me that's now doing it on his own, and there was one deal he couldn't close. He tried to wholesale it, then he tried to find the money to buy it, and he couldn't get the deal closed. And he came to us, and he honestly just said, "Take it for what I have it." He just wanted to help the seller and didn't make any money on it. He's just like, you guys have the money, you guys go do it. So having the money and the access to money and be able to close quickly is super valuable, not only to wholesalers, but just sellers in general when they need it quick. So good stuff there.
Yep.
Hey,
All right,
Tony.
cool.
Hey,
Yeah.
Tony, do you see that as a reoccurring trait with people on your show, the guys that are doing some pretty good business? Do most of those guys use private funding?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's some that still use hard money lending. I just don't like hard money lending. I just started doing some rentals with a hard money lender for long-term financing, and it was I sent them like 5 properties, and it was just so much paperwork and so much headache. And there was
Yeah.
actually one deal that they pulled out of last minute because they knew that I was the funder on my own deal, and I'm like, why is it a big deal that I funded my own deal? They thought there was something weird going on. So I think private lenders are just the way to go. I mean, just like Gonzalo said, man, like if we have a deal today and literally we have to close tomorrow, we can get the money. You know,
Yeah.
we have lenders that will close those kinds of deals. Are you asking because you are looking to transition from some hard money stuff to private money stuff, or what
No,
would
we're all private. I was just curious. It seems to me the people that I've met in mastermind groups and across the nation networking, the guys that are playing this game, nearly 90+% of them use private funding some way, form or another. It seems like to me.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to go. For those listening, I think most people understand what private funding is. It's basically just individuals that are funding deals as opposed to like institutions or, companies that are hard money lenders. So I definitely think that's the way to go for sure. Yep. All right, cool. Let's go back to David. David, I guess, what do you feel like is kind of the secret to running a successful business? Like, what are some things that you have done that have helped you to become successful? And then even on the other side, if there's like something that like maybe wasn't working that you overcame that you put in place because something wasn't working, you can talk about that as well.
Great question. So being a ground up construction, you know, one of the things that I learned very quickly, especially going through planning, permitting, and engineering, in the state of California, is pretty intense. It's different back east, but if you're building something in the Silicon Valley, San Francisco, San Diego, the planning and permitting process is very, very strict and very constringent. So what we've learned to do is instead of having an architect in San Diego, an engineer in Sacramento, and then your planning permitting person, San Jose, we use them all under one roof. And that really cuts down on the red tape of trying to get all your consultants on the same sheet of music, so to speak. So we found that to be very successful. As far as marketing, one of the things that I used to do a ton of Google PPC and a ton of Meta, still ads, kind of the classic plays where they were driving to an IST, internal sales team, and then they would book appointments for our external people to go do site visits. I've now started to convert it to a webinar, so selling to massive amounts of people at scale, and then having them warmed up by the time they get there. Because the first point of any AB 1033 or SB9 project, that's the other thing that I do, is a feasibility study. That's where we start, because I like to eliminate any risk before we start spending money with the client. If I can spend a small amount of money, do a very detailed analysis of whether this is a pass or fail project and a very high probability of them getting their AB 1033, it's awesome. And we'd love to do that. I won't do a project unless it goes through that process. It's been very good. A couple other things that I wanted to touch on in regards to AB 1033 and some other cool things in California, if you guys want to know, is with AB 1033, it's not just with single family residences. Okay. So you can also do a duplex, triplex, up to a fourplex. So if the zoning is multifamily and you have or you're looking at to buy a fourplex, you can build another fourplex on that lot with the zoning and if there's room. Okay. And listen to this. So now you have two fourplexes on one lot, right? You rehabbed one, you added another one. Now you can record AB 1033 on both of those fourplexes. Now you have 8 condos that you can sell individually. So you had something that was a little median cap rate where you were just buzzing along in this little fourplex making $2,000 a month. Now you build another fourplex, go vertical, record your condo map on an exit. Now you have each condo in the city of San Jose will sell for $1 million. So you now have an $8 million exit on 2 condos on originally 2 fourplexes. So that's some really cool, crazy stuff. The other thing that's a real exciting thing in that's happening now is SB9. So SB9 is a lot split play to where you have a main house on one side of the lot, then you have your new house that you got in the split, and now you add 2 ADUs, right? So now you can have 2 ADUs, you record AB 1033, right? So now you have 4 individual houses that you can sell off one piece of land. So you increase the density from 1 to 4, and you only paid for the land one time, right? So now you only so now that your other 3 other 3 houses that you built, there was no land cost because you created all that with the lot split and then record AB 1033. It's powerful numbers. And the cool thing about it now is when you underwrite these deals, no one else sees what you see. So you have a big leg up on other investors because they're underwriting it their specific way. How much we got to put in it, you got a cheat code, so to speak.
It sounds almost too easy or too good to be true. Do you feel like other real estate investors, do all real estate investors kind of follow this and know this, or do you think there's still a good amount of real estate investors that still don't know?
No, I don't know anyone that I've talked to about this. They don't know. It's very brand new. And but it's coming. Like they're like I said, all those other metropolis cities in the state of California have approved it. So it's only a matter of time before people really start to catch on to what's going on. But man, if I had a ton of money and I could start doing some land banking and just go handpick all these deals, or there's 6,600 ADUs that were built in the city of San Jose in the last 5 years. That's the number. So if you started to, do some direct mail, get some phones ringing, and man, if you could just get 10 or 20 of those in contract and record AB 1033, you'd be a happy guy.
Wow, that's amazing. Cool,
Yeah.
man. For sure. We need to talk offline. I love that kind of stuff. I love strategies that people don't know about and kind of the being the pioneer in different things. So
Awesome.
very cool.
Yeah.
All right. What about you, Jason? What's working for you right now? What are you looking to do this year? And or just anything you want to share that is going well for you right now?
Well, I'm always been a big fan of just the fundamentals. That's what's worked great for us, and that's what we teach a lot of our students is we want to put a big focus on generating leads, like Gonzalo was talking about earlier. He's found a special little niche there with wholesalers. I think that's super cool, by the way, Gonzalo. I'm a big fan of having 6, maybe 5 to 6 different forms of marketing going out all the time. Excuse me. Once we get those hands raising up, then you can kind of switch over. Like you got to learn to convert those deals, and that's how negotiation. That's where that really comes in, is learning to sit down in front of people and putting together a good deal. A lot of times that's done creatively. So I'm a big fan of that. That's really made us a lot of money over the years, and that's kind of what sets us apart from a lot of the investors in our areas. We take the time to really get to know sellers and figure out how we can help them through a tough situation. And those two things, I think, give you the financial freedom part of things, because that's what brings money into your business. But then if you want the time freedom, I think a big part of of your time should be spent on how to put the right systems in place, good CRMs, different ways to leverage power team members, the right hires to really free up a lot of those to-do lists that this seems to grow each and every day, that you always seem like you're putting out fires. And that's what's really worked for us is just following that simple basic framework.
And I love omnipresence marketing. So when you say, I think you said 5 to 6 marketing channels, what are those marketing channels, if you don't mind sharing those?
I've had really good luck with bandit signs. I was one of the first ones. Like, again, we're small town people, but I was one of the first ones to really start bandit signs in our area, and that was when I didn't know anything about real estate investing. And the phone rang so much that first month we'd done that, I got to the point where I couldn't stand answering the phone. I was like, there's somebody else wanting to sell a house. We didn't have the funding in place back then. I missed so many good deals, wholesaled some of them, but left so many good deals out there because I wasn't ready. But bandit signs have always been good. Direct mail has always been good. I'm a huge fan of networking with probate attorneys, divorce attorneys, all those guys that can share leads with you. Of course, the realtors, the wholesalers, just anything we can get our hands on. I'll try it for a little bit and see what works.
Very cool. Very nice. Good stuff, man. What about you, Gonzalo? Anything you want to share? Something you're implementing this year? What's working for you, and kind of what's helped you with success other than just raising money and being that go-to guy?
Yeah. So I would say for me right now is lean and mean. So that's been working for me. So I have in the past, I had like a massive operation when the market was a little bit better, right? And so I had like 20 in-house employees, and we were doing hundreds of deals a year. And I'm making the same amount of money now with 3 employees and doing 7 deals a year, So that has been a big focus for me. And it also makes it easier to implement systems and processes. And this year last year we implemented EOS in the business, so that's been really helpful as well. And when I was running around with 20 employees, I probably needed it more then, but it was just we never had the time to implement, and it was just too much change and too much going on. And so now it helps us stick to the basics. So yeah, lean and mean, just care about your profitability. I got sucked in that top line revenue, deal count world when I was a younger man and didn't have any kids. And so now it's all about like, how much money am I actually keeping? Like Jason is like, I do 2, 6-figure flips a year. Like, I love that. And so, yeah, that's been what's worked for me this last cycle change.
Yeah, that's a good point. I had that in 2019 where I had a bunch of employees, and when your overhead is a certain point and you have a couple of months or, a few months where things aren't closing and stuff kind of shifts sideways, that's when you're like, man, what am I doing? Like, why do I have this operation? And so, that is a very good point. It's not about the amount of deals you're doing. It's not about the top line revenue. Like, when people say, "Oh, I have a seven figure flipping business," or "I did 8 figures last year," like that doesn't mean anything because they're really not talking about profit. They're talking about the amount of deals. They're talking about their revenue. But when it comes down to it, like you have to look at your net profit, and more importantly, not just net profit, but cash flow from that net profit. Because there's been years where I've been pretty profitable, and I'm like, "Where's the money?" And it's going into other houses. It's going into like other things where I'm like, okay, I had to shift some things and figure out the cash flow game as well. So that's a very, very good point. Cool. The market. Let's talk about the market a little bit. So I know, David, it sounds like with you, your strategy is different than a lot of real estate investors that are probably listening to this. A lot of people are wholesaling or fixing and flipping, whereas you're doing a little bit more of the development stuff. But I guess the market still could affect you just as much. What do you see the market doing in the next 12 months? And are you making any changes for that? Or are you kind of doing what you're doing and not making any changes? I'm just kind of curious what the next 12 months looks like for you and what you think the market's going to do.
Yeah, I think as far as the market, at least out in California where I am, it's kind of stationary, right? You're not in that bull market, you're not in the bear market. It's just kind of flattened out for us. Those massive appreciation cycles that California is seeing is not there anymore. It's just kind of putting along at a sideline pace, if not slightly decreasing 1 or 3%. Um, so yeah, I think that it's so good to create plays that really add value, right? Because I mean, as you can see, guys going through COVID, any crazy stuff can happen. So if you're on thin margins, finding ways to create that different margin level, create protects your investors, creates your upside, and I think it's just a good thing. So that's really what I focus in my business model.
So you don't see much change in the market. Usually California is one of the more volatile markets. So you're seeing pretty stationary. You don't see too much fluctuation this next year.
Yeah, not as of now. I mean, what I've read is it's going to be kind of just stable. We're going to be stuck in second gear for the next 12 months, just kind of cruising sideways.
Yeah. Which is probably, I mean, it's maybe good that you're not in a bull market with real estate because then you may have sellers that are more unreasonable and you can find better deals. And with you adding value, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter as much, but you should be able to find some better deals. And especially if you're looking for those ADU projects, because I feel like people that have ADU projects probably feel like their house is worth way more than if they didn't, which it obviously is. So it could be to your advantage, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. What about you, Jason? I know we're kind of going into, California and some big markets, and then I'll,
Yes.
transitioning over to maybe a smaller market in Tennessee. By the way, what city are you actually in?
We're in a little town called Greenville, and it's in the Tri-Cities area of Johnson City, Bristol, and Kingsport. So it's northeast Tennessee.
Okay.
And so we're getting our little area is still growing, especially we're still getting a lot of people from out of state moving in. California is a big one, Texas, Florida, and then a lot of states of up north. There's still a lot of people moving in. But the past year, it is kind of flattened out. It's still a good, healthy market, we would say. The rental market is phenomenal because the price of that first time home buyer's house is just it's gotten unaffordable. So the rental market is phenomenal right now. And we look for that to stay pretty solid as long as people keep moving in here. But it looks like interest rates are creeping down a little bit. So we'll see what happens.
That's what I love about like smaller towns like Wichita, Kansas, where I invest. It's not a small town, but it's small enough that like in 2007 when everyone else was panicking, 2008, we had some foreclosures, but we didn't really see a huge downturn in pricing. And
Yeah.
so those little markets I just love because they're not as volatile and you can
Mhm.
still cash flow them and make rentals work as well. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of that, that's all we've ever known too. But you're exactly right. You've got a lot of options here about any kind of strategy you want to implement. Most of the time it works pretty well.
yeah, cool. What about you, Gonzalo? Do you see any shifts in the market in the next year and where you are?
Not really, not anything different than, David or Jason added. What I would say is I do think that everybody feels a lot more hopeful about this year and they feel excited. So we've seen, on the wholesale dispo side, we've seen an uptick of buyers getting a little bit more aggressive on buying. And another thing I would say is just to, kind of what we've been saying, which is it's just hyper local. And so, we talk about just different markets like a California versus Florida. And so we look at that as like two different states. But then really it's more of like in Jacksonville, this pocket is going down in value, but this pocket is increasing. And so, because we do flips as well, and not everything is a good flip deal just because it is on paper. So you have to look at like what is the immediate inventory available in that neighborhood, and is there anything for sale in that neighborhood versus is there anything that's is it just saturated with a bunch of active stuff? So I would say that's the only thing that I would say when it comes to market discussions is just it's super hyper local. Don't get carried away with, oh, the national housing has dipped, X amount percent. Like that could have gone up in this one zip code. And so like that's the way that we analyze our deals is there a lot of inventory active in that neighborhood? And then because at first it was like a price point thing. Like I was like, oh, let me stick to this price point and not go to this higher price point because we think it's affordability or whatever. But I have a house that's listed for 250 that is not selling on the retail market, and then I listed a house for 399 and it sold like within 2 days. And so it's just like not a price point thing. It's not an overall thing. It's street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood. And this is the market to be super analytical with that.
Yeah, I like asking this question to get perspectives from people because if you go on like YouTube, which I'm trying not to listen to them anymore, you see the crash is coming or the next 2007 or 2008, and it is really hyper local. And even for like you said, and not only not just local to your market, but actually potentially per neighborhood, right? I mean, there's different pockets of different neighborhoods in different areas that could be different. And it's the same thing for us. We just listed a house, similar numbers, 380. Our original ARV was 345, listed for 380, and we were nervous about it, and it just sold like that. But then I have a house that's more in the first time home buyer price point at 250. I'm like, that should have sold 4 weeks ago, and it's still on the market. So we're still trying to figure that out. It's part of it's time of the year. There's not quite as many buyers out. Part of it
Yep.
might be, luck, that right buyer at the right time. There's a lot of factors that come into it. So I think the biggest thing with just the market in general is like just plan for it, like plan for maybe a 5% dip because especially if you're doing rehabs, like
Yeah.
you have a rehab that goes too long and then all of a sudden something happens and the market dips a little bit and then you're much safer when you do that.
Right. Or we've, on the calculator, we added buyer concessions because like that wasn't a thing. And now it's every offer that comes in, it's, hey, we also want 3% towards our closing costs. So now it's like playing with that. And so you could have your ARV spot on, but if you're crediting 3% back, like that's 10, 15 grand back. So that's another thing that we've seen that almost every single offer, every deal, every flip that we're selling is some sort of buyer concessions.
Yeah, cool. All right, back to you, David. So let's get outside of business for a minute. Obviously, business can be stressful, can be tough, and all that kind of stuff. What do you guys do to kind of keep physically and mentally strong? Just like so many kind of, I don't know, you can do biohacks, you can do productivity tips. Like, what are some things that you do, David, to just kind of stay productive, stay energetic, and just stay healthy overall?
Yeah, and that's a great question. My morning routine, I didn't always have this routine. When I was a young business guy, I was a high school football coach also. So, it was 100 miles an hour. I have three boys that were a year apart. So my 30s were pretty crazy, right? Sports and all that. But, as I've gotten older, you're right, man. Just mental clarity, focus. But I'll just get right into it. Transparent, like no alcohol, zero alcohol. I don't drink any alcohol. I cold plunge every morning. I sauna every morning, and I start my workout. And then I go on my faith walk. I'll walk this little trail, listening to my faith, and just get into my gratuity and just being gracious. And then I start my day. I don't really start any meetings till after 10 a.m. is typically when I'm ready to go. And then those first 3 hours of light belong to me and just mental health and focus and just preparing me to overcome any objections or any problems that I foresee in the future. So when the time they get to me, I already have solved them in my mind, which alleviates any anxiety that would come immediate.
That's amazing. A lot of people would get anxiety not starting their day until 10 o'clock, right? But the 3 hours that you give to yourself, like, you could start at 7 or 8, but the time you give to yourself, you're probably, two things. One, more productive because you're shrinking your day into a shorter time frame. So you only have a certain time frame. And then
Mhm.
once, like you said, once those challenges come to you, you can solve them a lot faster and a lot easier, right? Cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Love it, man. Love it.
Thanks.
What about you, Jason? Got any life hacks, productivity hacks, or biohacks?
Yeah, I'm very similar to David. Of course, we always try to make sure our faith is in the right place. Always trying to build that relationship with Christ and how that works in our business. Again, we do this. I like doing the sauna and the cold plunge. I don't do it near as much as David, but I enjoy doing that. I've recently got back into playing basketball, and I'm just absolutely loving that. I'm 49 now, and I was scared to death that, if I wanted to play, but I was scared about my knees and ankles, and none of that stuff has bothered me. And I'm just loving getting out there and playing ball again. My thing last year was, so we love water. I love being on the lake and the ocean and all that stuff, but I've gotten into wake fulling. Have you guys ever heard of that? The full
Wake fulling?
Heard of it. I think I've heard of it. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. It's got a wing on it. It's like a little surfboard that's got a wing, and it actually picks you up out of the water, and you can ride with no rope on a wake boat.
Oh, yeah.
That thing absolutely kicked my butt last year learning how to do that. I mean, I've been around water sports my whole life, but trying to learn this thing was just, it was brutal. But I finally, last summer at the end of the summer, early fall, I finally cracked the code on it, started riding the thing. So this year I'm looking really forward to that. And then one last thing, me and my wife, Kelly, we've set a big goal this year. We're going to hike the north rim to the south rim of the Grand Canyon this October. And I think it's 24 miles. So we're super excited about that.
Is that one day or 2 days?
We're going to do it one day.
One day? Yep. Nice. Very nice. Good stuff. Gonzalo, what about you, man?
So I'm kind of like David in that 30s phase. So my wife has been pregnant for the last 4 years, back to back to back. So we're about to have our fourth baby. So we'll have 4 under 4. And so for me, I'm in that phase. So my son just turned 3. My daughter's turning 2 next week. My other daughter turns 1 next month. And then my other daughter's coming in June. And so that has kind of thrown me out of the whole routine thing. But I would say what's very important to me is my faith. So that has a lot to do in my business, especially in this world of wholesaling and sellers and kicking out squatters and all that. And so that's been a little bit more important to me. So I would say not really on the whole biohacking stuff. I officially turned 30 in December. So now I'm like, all right, like my back is hurting now. I go to the chiropractor now. So I'm in that phase where like, all right, health has to become a priority now. But for me, it's my faith, man. Spending that time, and really reading the Bible. That's been the biggest thing. As a kid, I was always, going to church, and I was like a church drummer and all that, but I never read my Bible. And so, really what that means is like, just actually reading the Bible, understanding you're just taking away something you can implement every single day. So that's been true game changer for me, is actually reading the Bible, not getting it from some sermon online or whatever, Yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. 4 under 4, man. That's crazy. I have 1 6-year-old. I don't know how people do multiple kids, man. 1 is enough. But I've heard that 2 is easier than 1. Am I right on that? For those of you who have had 2 kids at one time,
I think so. Yeah, definitely. They gotta have a
play with each other.
Yeah. They gotta have. Otherwise, they're on you the whole time. They want you. Yeah. But now, if they got a little buddy to hang out with, yeah.
Depends on the age too. Certain parts of that could be a little challenging, but as they get older, they hang out with their buddies a lot.
Yeah. I'm gonna get him a dog or something to help counteract that.
Dogs are cool. A little Cocker Spaniel will be.
Well, dude, I'll have some extra here. I can share. I'll send you one or something.
I'm good, man. I think I'm good. Well, I'm gonna jump in on this one. I love this stuff. I haven't jumped in on other questions. I kind of forgot I should have been jumping in on some things. So I'll give you some good ones. So creatine's a good one. People think that's just for just like muscle and gaining weight and sports and stuff like that. But they say if you do 5 grams of creatine, it helps your muscles. If you do anything over that, kind of starts going into your brain and helps cognitive. Has a lot of cognitive benefits. And creatine is like the number 1 studied supplement out there. So they have a lot of data on it. So I started that 3 months ago. I started 10 grams. I'm going to try and up to 20 grams. And I've noticed a lot more energy and clarity since I've been starting to do that. So that's a good
That's
one.
interesting.
And then
Wow.
a lot of us sit at our desks all day. So like I heard a podcast where sitting all day is the new smoking. And someone said if you just set an alarm 1 hour or for every hour and you just do 10 air squats, then you can actually counteract the um, disadvantage of sitting all day. So just 10 air squats every hour. And for me, I like to get up and walk around outside, but it's been a little bit cold lately. So just every hour, just get up and do something. And then what's another good one? Morning routines are good. And I think just habits. I was actually talking to my coach, which if someone doesn't have a coach, man, coaches are so valuable. I hired a new coach about a year ago, and she's really expensive, but she's so good. And every time I have a call with her, the clarity she brings to me. But I talking to her yesterday, we just talked about habits and just having the right habits, we can have the right strategy. We can have, everything that we have, but just having the right habits with the morning routine, with time blocking your day, with, stopping at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whenever you want to stop and not working in the evening and, taking into family time, just a lot of different habits you can have that really compound over time. So I wanted to ask that question because I feel like no matter how successful you are, if you're not doing the things at home and the things in your personal life to kind of give you life and give you energy, like it's just going to burn you out. And I learned that way too much. In my first 15 years of business, and it's really been the last like 10 years that I'm like, right, I really have to take control of my personal life and fitness, and not put that on the back burner anymore. So
Yeah. Yeah. Are you guys readers? You guys read a lot of books?
Yeah, I try to read every night before bed.
I do YouTube. I can't sit down and read a book anymore. I probably should just to help get my focus back into play, but like I just have to listen to it now, put it on 1.5 to 2 times speed, or else I can't
Yeah.
focus.
Yeah.
You a big book reader?
I was when we first got into real estate. I just completely immersed myself in any kind of book I could find, and then over the last year or two, I've really slacked off. But that's going to be a goal of mine, is to get back into books. The problem with it is it seems like a lot of books kind of are saying the same thing anymore. So I'm trying to find some new, fresh material to read.
Hmm.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Cool. Well, we have a little bit of time. I'm going to throw this out to you guys. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? Any maybe challenges or struggles you guys have that you want to throw out to the rest of the group? Anything that you want to share that's working for you, or I don't know, just throw out a topic for discussion. I'll leave it the rest of the time to you guys.
I got one for you. So in putting together these deals, right? So the new construction deal that we just completed, um, we did it on a syndication. So we got a land loan for half of the money, which was 500K. And then we had to went out and raise the rest, right? So in Silicon Valley, it's an interesting thing. There's a lot, some of the smartest people in the world, they're very careful in what they do with their money. So going through that process was very interesting, and how we structured it for the investor was pretty cool. So what I did was we offered a 10% pref return with a 50% waterfall for the investors. So not only did they get the first 10% off the top of the deal, they also partake in 50% of the profits at the back end. So it was cool. It made a lot of really good connections, and it was an interesting process. So we went through the subscription agreement, the PPM, all that type of stuff. So it was fun.
Who did you use to do the PPM and all that, and how much did it cost you? Or just how much did it cost you, I guess? Just kind of curious.
$5,000.
Okay. Yeah, I just found a
Yeah.
company recently that does them for $5,000, and everybody else that I've talked to has been quoted like, anywhere from 10 to 25,000 for that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
what kind of returns are you getting your investors on those deals?
It was well on this deal, it was 69%.
I was going to say that those numbers sounded pretty good for the investor, man.
Yeah. So, and I know when people see that, they're like, it jumps off the page, right? And if you don't really help them understand it, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this is not, they'll
It's a
run
scam.
backwards because it's too good to be
Yeah.
true, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but when you really this isn't just a deed of trust. I'm actually handing over my participants who's taking the risk, injecting the cash. We are 50% profit partners. So that's how we do it.
Cool. Awesome. Do you have very many of those deals coming this year?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Cool. Jason or Jason or Gonzalo, you guys got anything you want to throw out there?
Go ahead, Gonzalo.
I'll throw, well, something that I'm just curious to hear everybody's take is just AI. Like, are you guys using AI? That's been one of like a theme, I would say, for my company, in the last year and this year. I feel like it's one of those things where we're not putting enough time learning it. But I would love to hear if anybody's doing that, especially with this new thing, the open call thing that I've been seeing. Everybody's like buying, Mac minis and installing a personal assistant at their desk. So I'm just curious, throwing out the AI discussion and seeing if anyone's doing anything.
I mean, I'm in the Silicon Valley, so the AI is just amazing. Not so much, putting together your deal, but like you can underwrite using. I use ChatGPT every day, the 5.2 licensing,
Yep.
and it's man, it's pretty impressive. It saves you a lot of time, a lot of speed, a lot of detailed work, and then just also creating. I use it for also creating social media posts. So I'll take my logo, pop it in there and say, hey, make me an awesome, social media post based on AB 1033. And dude, it'll carve it up, create an awesome image. And then, I'll say, type me out the memo that goes with the ad and pick out the music that I should play that'll grab the most listeners. In 2 minutes, I got the image, the full detailed written thing. And then I post it, TikTok, Insta, Facebook. And I mean, dude, I used to have to pay someone, a couple $100 or even an ad agency that does it. That's $3,000 a month on retainer. And I mean, and I can post 3 times as much in just when I'm chilling in the bed, just getting ready to go to sleep. So, and just the learning thing. This is funny that you just said that because this is so fascinating to me on the real estate side that I actually created a webinar for guys like us, and I'm going to send it to you. It's like I created a webinar for guys in their 40s and 50s, entrepreneurs in their 40s and 50s that aren't like Gen Z guys, of where AI is going to fit in your space, right? Because it's like these youngsters coming out of, college, they're on top of it, right? But 40, 50-year-old business guys like, okay, here's this big movement heading our direction. It's all over every news channel. How can we plug this into our business in the simplest form? So I got 5 AI different applications that I kind of made a very simplistic approach for guys like that. I'm going to send it to you.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I'll jump in real quick. So we're going to implement an AI answering bot where people actually are like really think it's human. And I'm still trying to figure out if I want to disclose that it's not human, or if the person that I'm going through says that they don't disclose it, that there's a certain point they may ask the question and then the AI robot kind of knows how to respond to it. So that's something we're going to play with. We just hired a Facebook ads campaign company that uses AI for Facebook ads, and we got a first deal in the first couple weeks. So it's pretty new. We've only been doing it about 3 weeks now. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. It basically uses AI to kind of like know what images to use and text and things of that nature. And then kind of like David said, man, ChatGPT, like I have a fiber optic internet deal that I'm looking to invest in and bring some other investors in. And I just plug that thing in there and it creates pitch decks. It tells me what I shouldn't disclose, what I should not disclose. It's like an attorney almost, like where it's like, wait, you can't do that because it has this language in it. You need to change it. That type of thing. I'm sure there's some other things. What about you, Jason? Do you have anything you're using AI for?
Just I use the chat a lot. I love using that as almost like a coach and going in, just asking questions, learning, a little deeper about whatever topic and just a little bit of marketing. But other than that, I'm not real familiar with it.
I got one more tip I got to throw out there that just hit me. If you guys have never used a Google VO3 for videos, it's absolutely crazy. The other one is Notebook LM. Those are two systems that you can literally, just copy. Like, I want to write, I want to create a video for my Tennessee wholesaling company that's going to attract more investors to give me more private money. You put that in the chat GTP, copy and scrape that, and then put it into Notebook LM, and it'll make an incredible video that you can post on your social media, that it's nuts. And that Google VO3, if you guys ever get a chance to go to my website, there's a lady, an Asian gal, that looks 100% real. If I did not tell you that that was not shot in a studio, you would buy it 100%. So that is a Google VO3 video that cost me $200 to make. And
Now,
that is probably a $10,000 production.
I'm familiar with VO3. Is Notebook LM pretty much the same thing? Just you prompted create videos?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. Google VO3 is much better from an image perspective, but Notebook LM, you can just copy and paste chat GTP, throw it in there, and it's great for YouTube. I use it for my YouTube videos all the time.
Is that a Google company?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I've heard of that. So I use Sora. We do so chat GPT created Sora, and you can just prompt it to create, like, what is it, 7 to 10 second videos, I think. And so my marketing gal will just prompt it to create videos, and then we post it on my social media. And people know it's AI. It says Sora on there. And some of it's a little bit out there. So but it just creates attention. It kind of gets the message out there. And like you said, you don't have to hire an agency or anything like that to create it. It just, I mean, the quality of the video is crazy. Like, you don't know that it's not real. So
crazy. Yeah, anyone I show that to, they're like, "You've got to be kidding me!" It's it's crazy where the world's going. And you know what's even crazier is, like, think about where we were 5 years ago, right? Now think about where we're going to be 5 years from now.
Yeah.
That's the piece, is like, you really have to get a hold of this stuff and get a general understanding of it, because it's coming, and it's coming fast. So getting the basic fundamentals of it just in your systems before someone else does, there's going to be a big deviation of business. People that have grabbed onto this and learned it, and others that didn't.
Yeah.
Pretty scary for old country boys like me.
Good, you're good though. You got the cool factor. They don't make no AI like you, brother. Yeah, all right. You're 101.
All right, cool. This has been great, guys. Let's wrap it up. One tip that you want to give the audience, for people listening, something that maybe you implemented in your business, or or a piece of advice maybe someone gave you, or it could be like a tool like EOS or something like that, something you want to kind of leave the audience with that they can take into their business and help run it more efficiently.
I would say in this new era of business, like, you got to be okay with putting yourself on camera and telling your community what you do and how to contact you. Sticking your phone up, making a video, introducing yourself, that's the difference of where people are really starting to take over business, right? It used to be, hey, I got a website. Now I'm doing SEO. Now I'm getting to the top of Google organically. Then it went to running PPC on Google. And then, hey, we'll run some still Facebook ads and we're kicking butt. Now it's changing. Getting that identifier of you being the person in your area. They see your face. It adds so much trust, especially with private investors, man. If you're working on that angle and they see, oh, this is the guy, he's out there. I think that would be one recommendation that I would give.
It's interesting. It's so simple, and it doesn't really take that long to create like a post a day or something. And I've been in the mode of, like, the last few months of not posting anything, but I feel like when I do get in that mode and I start posting a little bit more regularly, there's always someone that reaches out that I do business with, or someone brings me a deal, or something good happens. So definitely consistency is good there, and good things happen. All right, Jason.
Can I go with a mindset? Would that work?
Do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say having a high level of certitude. Like um, we were corporate people, we wanted out of that place so bad, and once we started getting into real estate, you're really unsure if it's going to work or not. But once we done a couple of deals and we seen, hey, this worked, like that was it. We knew this was what was going to get us out of corporate America. So anytime you go into like a new business adventure, once you figure out a little bit about, figure out the ropes, so to speak, develop that mindset. This is going to work. We're going to make it work no matter what, because I mean, you guys know as entrepreneurs and real estate investors, it's like a roller coaster. I mean, you're up on the clouds one moment, and then the next day the bottom can completely
Oh,
fall out from underneath you. And
yeah.
you got to have that mindset to get through those low times to make it work. So I would say just a good high level of certitude that, hey, this is going to work. We're going to make it work.
Yeah, there's a saying or quote, or I can't remember where it comes from, but whether you say you can or you can't, you're right, right? So you just have to have that mindset that
That's good.
you're gonna be able to do it, and everything, even when shit's hitting the fan, it's all gonna be okay.
Yeah, right.
Good stuff. Gonzalo, finish this up, man.
I would say P&Ls and bookkeeping, man, that's
It's
been
good.
game changer for us. It's, monthly meetings with your P&L, with your bookkeeper, looking at the P&Ls, looking at the balance sheet. That's what, until I started actually owning real estate, when you're wholesaling, like kind of don't really care as much, even though you still should. But buying houses forced me to like worry more about QuickBooks and balance sheet and allocating the right things. And that turned into a whole world of like just knowing how much money I'm actually making, where is the money actually going, and looking out at that, forcing yourself to look at it. Because sometimes we know, like, I used to not want to look at it. I don't want to know what I'm losing every month, because yeah, I know at the end of the year I'll be fine, right? And so forcing yourself to look at it and running your business through P&Ls has been game changer for me.
And I'll add to that a little bit is having a financial team that can help run those, have
Yes, yes,
really good, accurate bookkeeper, a CPA that can help you at a high level. If you're at a point where you could, need a CFO to kind of shift money around and, do a bunch of stuff there, like just having financial people that can guide you through that. And I'll add tax strategy to that too. I mean, we pay a lot of money in taxes. I just love buying rentals and depreciating them and doing bonus depreciation and
yep.
a bunch of other creative stuff to really not have to pay any taxes. Like there's been many years I haven't paid taxes, and then the last few years I've had to pay a little bit of taxes. But like I would say my average tax rate is probably between 3 and 5% most years.
Wow.
It's just crazy how if you have the right financial people, they can help you do that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I'm going to wrap up with mine. I'm going to say manifestation.
Mm.
Like I said, I hired a coach. She's really good at business, relationships. I mean, she's very well rounded in a lot of things. And for many months, we were talking about strategy, and she's like, she got to know me more, and she's like, the things you've done, from what I understand, like you've pretty much manifested them, meaning that you knew what you wanted and you knew you could do it, and then you just kind of started putting the pieces in place to do it, and then it ended up happening, right? And so through the last like I don't know, it's been like 3 or 4 months. Every time she's like, "All right, let's work a little bit on your manifestation muscle." And literally all we do is just talk about what the future looks like, and that's it. Like it's not a lot of strategy. And the strategy will come. But every time I do that, we talk about something that I want to put in place or I want to do. And then someone comes into my life or something happens that has to do with what I just talked about, right? And it's made it a lot easier to kind of get those things as opposed to working so much on strategy. So kind of what you said, Jason, is like believing it's going to work, but it's also just like adding that visualization of what you want. And for some reason, if you just focus on it and think about it and know it's going to happen, stuff just happens. So,
Crazy.
Very cool.
all
That's
right, this is
awesome.
good stuff, guys. This is a really good one, man. I appreciate you guys coming on. We'll do this every other Thursday. So if you guys are listening right now, you like live, you have access. If you want to get access, those of you who are listening on YouTube, just email me at tony@prohomebuyer.com and my assistant will get you access to future calls. And again, appreciate you guys. And David, we will definitely sync up And then
All right,
Gonzalo and Jason, if you guys need anything and want to sync up for any reason, just get my information from Noah, who you've connected with on my team, and look forward to seeing you guys in the future.
Thanks,
It was
guys.
a lot of fun.
All right. See you guys.
Awesome, man. Blessings. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.